Paul, we're back ahead of a massive week of Sky Fantasy Football. How was your Sky weekend?
Yeah, it was really good. I didn't feel like I had any standout players, maybe Rodri yesterday, but I've still managed to gain rank. So I'm hoping it's because the players around me don't have some of the players that scored well, obviously. Like Luke Shaw was an example. I thought that might have dropped rank when Man United clean sheet points got added, but I only dropped one place. I own Bruno, which a few around me I don't think had, and yeah, Rodri was a big one. His ownership jumped up to 45% overnight last night, but I just felt that there wasn't many around me that have him.
Yeah, same. You seem to have gained in rank, though. I think our team. I'm not sure, but I think our teams are quite similar at the moment as we
Yeah,
transition to the next phase. I went up from 109 to 99, so welcome to the 100 club. I'm quite happy with that. Hoping not to leave again for quite a while. You're 22nd. I'm 38 points behind you, which sounds a lot, but as we know, as we know, we're not. But in terms of my team, yeah, very very similar. I think it was 109th last week, but I didn't gain any rank yesterday, even though you did. So you gained 11 places from 33rd to 22nd, and I didn't gain any. Yet the players we had yesterday, I think were the same. So that's kind of interesting.
I think I was 27th going into yesterday though.
Okay. But you still moved
So
up like
yeah,
five
yeah.
places when you're only talking about 30 teams is a lot. Whereas I didn't move up at all. So it clearly shows that the distribution of players like Rodri are potentially more concentrated, not in that real upper echelons and a bit further down, which suits you down to the ground. So yeah, the hunt is on, Paul. But I'm really like, my goodness, you could you could be in the top 10
I'm
in
not.
like
I'm
two
not.
or 3 weeks. I'm more excited than you are for you.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not under pressure. Like I don't feel under pressure, and I'm not counting my chickens as well. I've had, whilst I think I've had a plan that's paid off. I've not. I have carried quite a bit of luck with me as well. So I do appreciate that. It's not come down to me outplaying everyone or anything crazy like that.
What are we looking at today, Paul?
We are going to talk about the average transfers left, and we've looked at how far into the season we are and how many games are left, and where I believe I would like to trend. As only my opinion, not how the game should operate. Just give a very quick update on my value of a transfer tracker, and then we are going to talk about the fixtures that have been announced, and how that might affect our plans coming up. Also, a couple of things I want to mention. One, I felt like I was cheating on you last week when I was on Planet FPL.
Absolute slag. I was.
Skypod. I was like, should I go? Like, I was like, should I go in? Like, we've just done a pod. So, like, what about content? I can't be, because you've got such a crossover, like,
Yeah,
of listeners that listen to this
yeah.
pod and listen to that pod as well. I'm on this and listen to the James and Suge. But it so happened that some of the
They
fixtures had
were.
dropped there,
They were.
and now some have dropped after as well. So
Yeah.
we've got even more content to talk about. So it's good there. Also, like I put a tweet out yesterday. So it was in reply to Tom Hartnell, who I know is a listener on this pod and does his own podcast as well on the Sky game. And I don't know if he had brought in Ake and Akanji, or he already held them. And it was a bit tongue in cheek, and I was, because I wasn't getting any of the City player defenders. I'd spoke about this on both pods last week. That my preferred Man City defensive lineup yesterday would run Walker, Diaz, Laporte, and Lewis. And whilst I didn't get that 100% accurate, because Lewis wasn't playing, I got the other three in Ake and Akanji, who were popular picks. I think Akanji's up to 35% owned in the top 1,000 now. So yeah, I was pretty happy that they both didn't start.
Yeah, indeed. I brought Ake in yesterday against my normal better judgment, but because they were playing on Wednesday anyway, even the 1 point that he came on for is,
Yeah,
I would have brought him in Wednesday regardless,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I would guess after the way he marked Saka out of the game, the FA Cup game, that he's guaranteed to start. So I'm like, that's, you just have to take the rough with the smooth with that, I think. But yeah, we're also going to talk about this evening's game and whether to go into Mo Salah. It seems to be on everyone's lips. Firstly, Paul, the value of a transfer. Where are we with that?
Yeah. So on the terminal event side, which is the side that I think is probably more pertinent to how we'd value them, I'm up to 8.2.
Nice.
So going pretty well, and that's with a couple of moves at the weekend that haven't paid off immediately, but I'm looking at fixture gains to load up on them. If I took out the Cancelo to Thiago Silva one now, would you take out something like an outlier like this? It all forms part of it, right? If I did take that out, it'd leave me with 5. So what I'm going to do at the end of the season, I mentioned it before, I'm going to create a Pareto chart, which is basically a large proportion, say 90% of my transfers yield between this point score and this point score, and then you get some outliers that are much higher than that in situations like this, and then you get a few that are in the negative position as well. Yeah. I'm a few in the negative position. Salah to Watkins one.
What did we say after we took out Watkins? He's the kind of player who'll go on now and he'll score 4 in his next 4, guaranteed. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Pareto charts are like quite interesting. They're what firms use to base their risk on. So if you're a distributor, say you're a glass creator, and you would then sell on to like window creators like C.R. Smith, etc. It's how firms base what their distribution is of the biggest sellers. So if there was a contract was to get cut, it's like you're heavily invested in a company where you've got a lot of risk. And I think applying a similar means to this is going to be quite beneficial in how we think about transfers. So, awesome. Or at least how I think about transfers, rather.
You've also done just a quick graph: transfers left against matches played. So this is where you feel maybe is, well, I'm guessing a decent representation of, if you were just doing a kind of linear approach to transfers across the season, we should have 21 left.
Yeah, exactly. So what we've talked about and something I'm a firm believer in is looking at distributing your transfers across the season, and I like to stay a little bit above that line. So maybe 1 or 2 transfers above the line, and then be in a comfortable position. So of the 380 games in the Premier League this season, 218 have been played, which then suggests that 29 of your 50 transfers be used, remaining 21. So some people have used more, and then the rank might be higher, and some have used less. But I'm not a conserve transfers for the sake of conserving transfers, and I know that you and I are both advocates of save some transfers because they'll come in handy at the end of the season. What we're not saying is hoard all your transfers and don't take advantage of these situations. I think exactly. I'm not speaking on behalf of you. This is where I'm coming from, and I think this is where you're coming from as well, though. But if you're trending slightly above that, so 21 transfers left on average over the time period, if you've got mid-20s, that's kind of where I would want to be at this stage, and how I balance the transfers out.
Yeah, no, that's really fair. I think for me, my argument always is there are so little anything above a 3 for 1 in the first half of the season, and if you look now, right, and it's so easy to forget when we're in the first half of the season. We've got a 5 for 1 that's coming up now, right? For I can't remember who it is, or is it Arsenal? No, it's someone over Man United. I've now got a 5 for 1. Like, it's absolutely insane. There's loads of 4 for 1s, 5 for 1s, 6 for 2s, 7 for 2s. The opportunities in the second half are just so much better than that in the first to rate real gains, that I think it's not about holding them back for the end of the season. It's holding them back in the first half of the season for all the massive opportunities that occur, like we're in the middle of now in the second half of the season. So yeah, and just to wrap up the transfers, we've got the transfers remaining, and this is the first time. Really interesting. We did say last week that we think this is going to happen soon, and the top 10 and top 100 have actually increased quite significantly the average transfers. So the top 10, of which Paul is very, very near, has gone up from 11.6 to 13.1, which shows people are dropping out and people are coming in. And the top 100 has gone up from 13.9 to 15.3, again showing that people, dead teams, people with no transfers, people who have just, the kind of hares among us, as opposed to the tortoises are starting to fall away, and and the tortoises and everyone else are starting to come up. They have dropped on the top 1,000 and top 5,000. So the top 1,000 gone from 18 to 17.8, and top 5,000 19.5 to 18.6. But you're earlier, your kind of linear representation of transfer use of 21 is probably now looking to be a good place to be, rather than thinking, oh, because I'm above the average, I'm fine. Because the average up until now, and still is, massively distorted. So yeah, I really agree with your assessment of that. 21 is probably what I would want to have now. And if you've got a couple above that, great. If you've got above that, again, you can afford to maybe take a risk or two. But if you're under the 21, I'd probably really I'd look to be quite frugal with the transfers and not make kind of luxury moves. I suppose is what I'm saying. So just before, sorry, we've got 75 people in the lobby. That's the most we've had live for a while. Nick Overson says, yes, Fergie, brought in Rodri for Kane, 3-0, like you said. So far, so good. Well done, Nick. Great move there. Sunny D asking about Bruno to Salah to Saka. If you had less than 25 transfers left, we are going to talk about this. Humble Monk says, Salah is a headache. That's all I know. And also says, guaranteed we put him in 4 points, leave him out in the evil hole. Absolutely. Shane White is in. Humble Monk, Kaiser Sose, Geo Boys, Windy 65, Gary Plant, Steve Manning says, first time joining for a while. Looking forward to a Sean Dyche masterclass tonight. Andy Bayliss, Colin Johnson, Julian Wardle, and many, many others. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. Massive night ahead, it feels. New fixtures and opportunities, Paul. So, as you mentioned, I always kind of speak in FPL terms because this is the way that everyone talks about it on social media. But double game week 25 was confirmed after our pod last week and before your pod with James, which added in fixtures for, I want to say, Liverpool, Wolves, Arsenal, and
Everton.
And Everton.
So that makes tonight's game more interesting.
It does,
and
right.
And Wednesdays as well, albeit you and I had laid our cards on the table on Arsenal anyway, and this just added to that.
It does. And then a double game week 27, I believe, in FPL for Brighton, Brentford, Southampton, and Crystal Palace. Well remembered, Paul. Thanks for that. So,
it's in front of me.
Oh, is it? It's right in front of me. So we have got Ian Parrin's plan in front of us. If you haven't used it before, get on there. fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. Search for Ian Parrin's plan, which is absolutely brilliant, and it kind of maps out everything for you. But what does this mean for us, Paul, in terms of short term and medium term, moves?
So short term, Man United and Newcastle are going to be devoid of fixtures, and therefore we talked about coming off them pretty heavy anyway, particularly Newcastle, elements of Man United as well. I'm still in two minds whether I keep Rashford through, but Bruno's definitely gone for me. If I won Shaw, I'd be looking for an exit point off Shaw as well. Arsenal hop on, still Wednesday, looks like an opportune time, but it's also an opportune time for Liverpool and Everton tonight if you want to hold players right through.
Definitely.
Now, Everton, they've had one game under Dyche and they performed really well, so I still don't know that's enough information for me to consider them longer term. We talked a bit about Pickford last night, and maybe he still is a goalkeeping opportunity if you can't get to Salah or however you do this. Liverpool could open up the gate for holding Salah longer term. It doesn't change my opinion on it. I'm following the exact same thing as what I was doing before and coming off him tonight. Even if you got a double tonight, I don't know that that's enough information to tell me that Liverpool's back in the swing of things and Salah's. I just can't see when I would captain him again. Maybe that game against Wolves that's been added in on Wednesday, the 1st of March. But then even then, if I thought that he had hit form again, I don't think people have captained him up until then, and it might be I could just hop back on him then at some point or do something there. So I'm willing to still continue on the way that I was going to do and bring Salah in tonight and then get rid of him straight away, because I'd be because downgrading him allows me to get 2 Arsenal players who have also got the extra fixtures in the running, and the 2 Arsenal players that I want rather than what I can afford.
So we could do, right? And I say we because I know we've got roughly the same team, not that we do kind of like for like, but I've been looking at either doing Salah and then move him on and then go for my other Newcastle player to Zinchenko, which would be affordable because obviously
Yep.
he's 8 million, but you then keep Salah and Zinchenko, or Salah and Saliba, or kind of whoever you've got, or you move on to someone like, you take any points that Salah gets and run, and then you can move on to like Saka and Gabriel, for example, which would probably be the preferred one. I would
But
say.
I can't even do it. I can't even do what you'd be suggesting. I can't get the other Arsenal player at all if I get Salah.
Interesting.
But it's fine because I've come to peace with that, so I'm okay. And hence why I'm more confident, and that's what I'm doing rather than still flirting with other ideas. I take on board your point. Maybe if I was in that position, I'd keep him and get Zinchenko if I could afford to make that move. But I already own Zinchenko, so that's other interesting point is maybe Wolves on this. So the Wolves have been playing particularly well recently. They were unlucky at the weekend. Unlucky to get the man sent off, I thought, from watching the replays, but won the game regardless. They've got that single game day against Wolves before it, and then get the extra game against Liverpool. So if you didn't have a Fulham player like a Man United to Wolves now, have Wolves got great Sky Fantasy assets? No. But you do get a 4-0, and the Man United game on Saturday the 11th of March is the home game against Southampton, could well be moved to Sunday the 12th of March. And it was James, when I was on the Planet FPL podcast, that he mentioned to me last week. And that could be if I got rid of Rashford, maybe I don't bring him back for the Liverpool game, and maybe I bring him back the following week, and you get an extra fixtures out of players then. So definitely something to consider there.
I also think so on the other side of that. So we've been talking about these like Fulham 2 single game days, right? And I think we were both of the mind of, we moved Palhinha on for potential bigger upside. It hasn't happened yet for me because I went for Nketiah, right? It hasn't happened yet. He does have more fixtures and stuff, right? So I'm still hopeful of something. But what's appeared also is an opportunity for Brentford. Really good opportunity. So if we did go for a Wolves player on that first one, as you say, in essence a 4-0 over United, Brentford also have a 4-1 over United in that period. So if you were willing to miss out on Rashford, away to Liverpool, home to Southampton, appreciate they're both thing, you could in essence have an 8 for 2, including the 2 captaincies, or even get Rashford back if you wanted and move someone else off for a Brentford player. But I was looking at maybe Raya, and the fixtures are good, right? So Brentford's fixing that period. They're home to Fulham, away to Everton, home to Southampton, and you would captain that Brentford player in 2 of those games. So it's actually a 5. It's 5 there. I'm even tempted to potentially do a double up on Raya and Tony, because I just think both of them are such fantastic options in their own right, regardless of the fact of the single game days. They're both having incredible seasons, great fixtures. So that's my current thinking.
Considered something similar myself. The other, yes, I don't really have anything to add. I think that'll make sense, and especially if you're looking to move on Nick Pope, getting a goalkeeper for that run, and then moving that goalkeeper onto Raya as like a daisy chain, looks good. I've always maintained I like goalkeeping transfers anyway, so you can get like a 5 for 2 on Pope just now, and Pope's games are against Liverpool and Man City in that time period, so that definitely looks promising. The other game is the Brighton Crystal Palace game, which is a single game day on Thursday the 16th of March. What I'm thinking at present is, what if I pick up an injury somewhere, I can bring in a Brighton player, or just wait until Thursday 16th of March. Maybe things will come to light about double game weeks that are coming afterwards, and extra. Yeah. There's possible extra fixtures that might get fitted in there. So it could be that Brighton have another single game day, or Crystal Palace have another single game day. So making a transfer there, I like a few Brighton options. I've mentioned before, Lewis Dunk's one of my Sky favourite players in Sky. He's always done me well when I've owned him. Mitoma's doing really well. But that's a couple of players that, based on volume of fixture over the short term from now, they're kind of lacking fixtures. So I'm not trying to force anything, and I think I'll assess and deal with it as it comes. and see how things change over the longer term.
I think we've been quite fortunate with how the fixtures have landed for both teams, in terms that they've landed in terms of it actually does make sense that you can go in now on form teams, right? Because Wolves are a team in, they're not like, like I say, like an Arsenal or Man City, right? But Wolves are pretty decent. You've got like Neves. I think he's got like over 90 points this season.
94 points.
94 points. You've got defenders. You can go for someone like Salah if you wanted. And Brentford are a team in form. I think they really are at both ends of the pitch. So I think we've been quite fortunate there, and I'm quite happy that I don't have to I don't feel forced to go for Palhinha or to have to go for Mitrovic. Just for example, now you can actually make massive gains by going a different way, which is great.
Yeah, take Palhinha out and he gets 0 successful tackles at the weekend.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable fortune there. Looking at the games then this week, we've touched them already. Liverpool, Everton this evening. We've got Arsenal, Man City on Wednesday. I'm guessing Haaland, captain Wednesday, assuming he's fit. If he's not fit, Paul, who would be your favourite captaincy option for Wednesday? I haven't even thought about it, to be honest.
I'm not sure that I'd even get him in, but if I was blue sky, pick who I think has the best chance of the most points. Probably Riyad Mahrez.
Same. In terms of your team, in terms of the highly owned picks, maybe who would you go for there? It's a tough one.
Rodri, maybe. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I think I would consider. He's got a history of scoring against Arsenal as well. So not that should really factor in. Kane's got history scoring against Leicester, and look what happened at the weekend.
It's the first time Kane hasn't had 2 shots in like forever or something. It had to be on the weekend we captained him, but yeah. And looking at the game this evening, which kicks off in just over 2 hours. We get the lineups in like an hour's time, which we expect, a pretty standard team from both sides. Mo Salah, so he's still owned by a fair few managers, and I saw you put a poll out earlier as well, Paul. What did your poll say?
Do you know, interesting? Like what I should have put in the poll, so this was an oversight of my front. I should have combined the other assets, so anybody that's not Salah from Liverpool or Everton, regardless if you're bringing them in or already own them, I should have put that into one, because you only get the 4 spaces on the Twitter poll, and I really wanted to know who, of those who was answering the poll, who owned Salah, who was bringing them in, and what other permutations of things were happening. So I suggested my other two options were bring another player in or already own another player. And I should know that own another player isn't going to be particularly high already anyway. And I should have put skip in that option instead. But what I found interesting was I'll always talk about the top 1K ownership. And the reason for doing that isn't to be patronising towards people. It's not in the top 1K. And it's not to say that everyone in the top 1K is completely engaged either, because they might have used all their transfers right at the start. I just think from the information that we have, that we can collect data on, it's probably the best sense that we have of engaged managers. And to prove that point, coincidentally or not, I would err on the not side, is that in the top 1K, 35% of managers own Salah, and on the poll, 35% exactly had voted for already own Salah. So whilst there's some sort of Venn diagram there somewhere, I think that helps me prove what I say on the matter usually. However, anyway, purpose of the poll, another on top of the 35%, another, I think it was 42 or 43% said they were bringing Salah in as well, as I'm planning on doing. That takes his ownership of the people answering the poll to 78% tonight, which was in my head before putting the poll out. I was genuinely thinking 70 to 75%.
Really?
So, and the way that I play the game, that's perfect for me, because it tells me most people's going to have Salah. I like captaining the player that's going to be most captained. I'll bring him in, but then I can't see another opportunity to captain him. Yes, there's opportunities to captain him, but at the expense of captaining against Haaland or Kane when he has an easier fixture, or Rashford, etc., over the next few weeks, until perhaps Wednesday, the first that we talked about there, that extra fixture got added in against Wolves. Maybe people will captain him again there. I'm pretty happy to get the extra fixtures from the Arsenal players that I want to make that move on on again to Saka on Wednesday, and then make an additional move to get another player in. My alternative is that I could get one of the City defenders that cost 8 million, and I'd know that they play, so Aki or Akanji. Maybe it's not my preferred route, but maybe that's an option for me to do as well.
So just on Salah, right?
Yep.
So his last 5 games, starting on the 30th of December. So this is pre-2023. He got 4 points against Leicester, assuming he had shots bonus there, right? Since then, he has got 2 points against Brentford, 2 points against Brighton, 2 points against Chelsea, and 2 points against Wolves. And also, courtesy of fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, in his last 4 appearances, Salah has got 0 goals. He's got 0 assists. He's only had 5 shots in 4 games, 0 shots on target, 5 shots in the box. He's got a combined XG, right? A combined XG in the last 4 games of 0.17, which is absolutely ridiculous. He's got an combined XA of 0.69. He's had 0 big chances, 1 chance created, and 4 key passes. Why? So is this just a pure case of probably the biggest one I think I've ever seen of effective ownership purely dictating the decision to bring in Salah? Because on paper it looks absolutely crazy.
So I have to so his stats are probably not going to be much better than any of the Liverpool players, right? So I know that's not your argument. I guess not your argument. So I'm going to use that transfer. I'm going to be transferring on Bruno anyway, and therefore, at the cost of one extra transfer for me on the way that I'm playing, can I transition through and get one player for tonight? Yes, I can. I could do it. I could, because Bruno. I've got the money to go Bruno to anybody. So I play this game usually with data and emotional attachment to things. I know that if I don't go for Salah tonight, I know his ownership's going to be so high. I know that I'm going to be in a very bad mood for the next few days. So I measure how annoyed would I be if I didn't get him, compared to I don't even if he blanks and I bring him in, I'm not going to be as annoyed as I would be if I didn't bring him in and he hauled. And therefore, even if I got 4 points from the one transfer, because I'm going to be making an additional transfer anyway, I'd happily accept that and move on. That might be personal situation for me and circumstance for me. That's fine, but that's the main reason for me doing it. In all honesty, I think you knew the answer to that question the way you teed it up anyway. But
hashtag no regrets. I get it. I do get it. Well, I'm completely the same. I suppose there's an argument for Darwin Núñez, right? So in that same period, Darwin he's had 4 shots in target in his last 3 games. He had 8 shots in the box. He's got an XG of 1.36. Not fantastic numbers, but much, much better than Salah's. I can't get to Darwin because of my formation, but I think if I could, I honestly think I would go for him ahead of Salah. Personally, but
if you're chasing, this is a great opportunity to go.
I agree. Yeah,
I'd said the same to James on the pod last week, that if I was in his position, I'd punt that Núñez.
Any other options? Van Dijk or any of the Everton players?
Don't laugh at me for this, but you might based on Liverpool's fixture volume on that move to Real that I mentioned there, you could go to Alisson. Like, you could go Pope to Alisson and then
that's grim.
Real.
That's grim. Yeah.
I don't know. The odds on Liverpool keeping a clean sheet tonight are relatively decent, I think. Even though I know they've not been great defensively recently.
Or Pickford.
Or Pickford, yeah.
I'd be much more tempted by Pickford, I think.
I'd seen a few people mention Tarkowski, and he's good for a goal, and Everton might go on a nice run of clean sheets, and Tarkowski picks up 7s, but just the lack of bonus, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to say if you look at Tarkowski's stats. So he's got better XG. He's got better XG than Salah has over the last 4. But yeah, it just doesn't do it for me.
I love it how James said on last week's pod that he thinks I'll be going for Pickford after because I was picking up Pickford, and you went, Nah. He'll be captain in Salah. It wasn't even a question. It wasn't even a thought. You know how I play it. As much as I don't want to do it, you just got to do it, haven't you?
I used to do it to Dan all the time as well on this pod.
Yeah,
like we're not like I know you'll do that.
I know you'll do that. I know.
Aubameyang was his thing. I'm never doing Aubameyang, and I was like, you're getting Aubameyang.
If Salah doesn't start this evening, will you skip?
I can't get to Nunes, so like similar to you, so I can't go through there. Would I skip? Well, it's no. I would pick one of the two Liverpool centre halves.
Okay, just an interesting one off Dale Turner. I hadn't even noticed this, to be honest. With Thiago's injury and Bajcetic seemingly the flavour player of the month, he's down as a 6.5 million defender playing holding midfield. Now I didn't even realise that. If that's right, that's not a bad shout as a backup, assuming he's got a fairly decent chance of won a clean sheet, potentially passing, potentially tackles. So that's not a bad shout, Dale. If Salah doesn't start, not to be expecting not to, right? He should start.
If you brought him in, then he's someone that you could keep based on the volume of fixtures as well.
Yes. Yeah. If you think he's going to play every game, that's always the problem with a youngster.
Yeah. One of the two Liverpool centre halves, knowing that. So the reason for me not Liverpool being bad defensively, so that'd be the reason. But I always don't like picking anyone outside of Van Dijk usually because of the injury concerns on Matip and Konate. But knowing that I'd be moving that player straight off again, I would likely do that, knowing it's only costing me an additional one transfer because you've got a chance of the passing bonus for them. So
Salah it is then, sadly, but that's the way. That's the game. That's the game within the game. It is, and
if Liverpool never had that extra game called in against Wolves, do you think that it would be slightly different? I don't know if that.
I don't think it's made a difference really. Apart from those who, I say that I think the only way it will make a difference if Salah has a stormer tonight and gets 2 goals, it would then make me think of going with him and Zinchenko ahead of going for Saka and Gabriel. So I think it could have an impact, and I wouldn't keep him if it wasn't for that extra fixture, maybe. But if he does, if we just have another Salah performance as we had since the World Cup, since AFCON really,
I almost hope that in a weird roundabout way, I almost hope he does have that kind of performance. So it makes me easy for me to move him out again, and I think that everyone else is going to do the same. And no.
Yeah, so in summary, with Salah, we don't think he's a good option, but he is the Egyptian king, right? He has the capabilities we know of going off at any time. He could bang. It's obviously highly unlikely at the moment, but he could bang in a couple of goals. He could get a golden assist. And if you don't go for him, because he's down as a midfield as well, he gets you to points and stuff, you could find yourself 25, 30 points behind. So the one transfer is just a preservation move, in it. Let's just move on. You should should see a small rise in rank regardless, right?
And if you look at Bruno, so some people might be doing this from Kane, and that therefore is 2 transfers, 2 more than what you would normally make. Yeah. But a lot of people already have Bruno.
They're moving him on anyway.
And or De Bruyne, who's been pretty poor as an asset, and therefore it does mean 1 extra game on a transition move.
Okay. Let's have a look at the fixtures on the weekend. So only two game days this weekend, which is quite rare nowadays. Saturday, Villa versus Arsenal. Gets you the lineups for that game. Hopefully Arsenal start to pick up soon, because I piled in on them and they've been absolute dross so far in the 2 games. Wolves and Bournemouth, Forest and City, Everton and Leeds, Chelsea, Southampton, Brighton, Fulham, Brentford, Palace, Newcastle and Liverpool. Haaland captain, away to Forest. Anything else?
Yeah. I guess there's an argument he could get rested if it's Champions League next week.
There is Champions League, and well, it's not guaranteed. If he doesn't start on Wednesday and he's not on the bench because they're just giving him a few more days.
Yeah, he was training today as well, so I imagine.
Okay.
I imagine he plays. Even if there's some doubts about him starting, I think I'd captain him.
We've had a few questions about Chelsea defenders. Badiashile, maybe Silva. players like that. João Felix looks a decent option as well. But would this fixture home to Southampton on Saturday? We don't see the lineups. I suppose is maybe a bit of a problem. But would you think this is a good hop on point on Saturday? I'm still not convinced, both from a fixture volume perspective, because other teams have got more fixtures, and the fact that I just still don't think Chelsea are that great defensively.
Yeah, for the sake of waiting and knowing that there's a better hop-on point the following week anyway, against Spurs on the Sunday 26th, you get a fixture gains from there, either from teams that aren't playing, like Man United, Brighton, etc., or from a player that plays on Saturday the 25th as well. I think that would be my preferred hop-on point.
And then Sunday the 19th of February, United versus Leicester and Spurs and West Ham. So people might be tempted to move off Bruno and potentially even Rashford this week, because there are teams who have 2 games, including Arsenal and Man City, Wednesday, Saturday, who have 2 more games before United even play again. And Spurs and West Ham, I see some people have gone off Kane. I'm assuming they'll go back to him because Man City had a 3-0 over them yesterday as well. What's your thinking on this day? Who's your current favourite captain?
I was on Kane, but like Bentancur being out now, devout of confidence. Leicester, I mean, whilst Leicester are playing offensively well, they're still not particularly playing defensively well, and Rashford's on incredible form. It might be a Dan Cox poll for me on Sunday.
Interesting one, isn't it? It's really tight, I think. Yeah. It's really tight.
I was on, before this weekend's games, I was definitely on Kane, and now I'm more 50-50, and whoever comes out on top of Dan's poll, if Rashford clearly wins it, or Kane clearly wins it, then I'll go with that. If it's split, then I might just stick to what I was doing already. I prefer to do that than change my mind about something.
If you're more 50-50, are you tempted to move on Kane or not? Because again, there's fixture games to be had.
I likely won't bring in a Chelsea player on Sunday the 26th, even though I think it is if you really wanted a Chelsea player, it's a good entry point. But I likely won't, and therefore having Kane to cover the captaincy that day as well just means I'm banking another transfer. I've got a rough transfers laid out until where are we? That's Southampton, like up until the Brighton single game day on Thursday, 16th of March. Like pretty fluid. Like I'm happy to change up my plans as and when needed throughout that. But I'm pretty happy with what that would leave my transfer account at that point. 1 or 2 for contingency in that period, and it doesn't involve doing 2 for nothings or 3 for nothings, knowing that the player that I've taken out I definitely want back in that shorter period.
You doubling up on Raya and Tony?
I think that's definitely an option. Like I've got Nketiah, who is just coming back at that point in time. But I'd argue that Real's a better captaincy option on the 2 days than, and you get the fixture gains from Brentford too. So definitely think that that's an option. Those are the only 2 Brentford players that really interest me.
Just looking at that, you would have you'd have an effective 6-1 for Brentford over Arsenal. That's why I'm thinking about Nketiah and Ramsdale to Raya. You'd only have the 6-1 for... No, you'd have a 6-1 and a 4-1 because obviously you can't captain both players.
Yeah.
An effective 10-2 for a good team. And their fixtures, so the 4 fixtures...
I think Brentford missed the Leicester game, or they're very, very likely to miss that Leicester game.
Because the FA Cup or something, is it? Okay.
And this is why I keep saying these are rough plans to that point in time. Yeah. I'm happy with the rough plans. If things change and games get rearranged in or rearranged out, then I'm pretty comfortable with how things are set out.
Lovely stuff. We've had some questions in. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in your questions as usual. FPL Foxy, is Mahrez a good option to bring in? I'm not that convinced now. I think that Villa game was obviously a good attacking game. Away to Arsenal, he could get something right. Obviously, away to an improved Forest. Not that I think the Forest, are going to, win or anything, but four of the next 5 games for City are away from home, and I do think that does play a slight part. I don't think it will defensively, but I think offensively it might. So I personally missed a boat on Mahrez. What do you think, Paul?
He's one of those players. Not that I've owned him that many times, but he's one of those streaky players that I can never seem to get him at the right time. I could add any of the Arsenal attackers into that as well, I think. But I think he has a good option. I think he's definitely worth consideration, especially if he starts against Arsenal, which I'd suspect he will. Yeah. Even if he does miss 1 or 2 of the games for the player that you're taking out for him, I imagine you're going to get those fixture gains back anyway. So I think he has a good option. I'm unlikely to get him myself, but that's not to say he's not a good option.
Julian Wardle, as we're all using a few transfers to maximise this phase of the season, have you given any initial thoughts and entry points to cover off most of the recently announced single game days? So yeah, I think we've gone through all of those actually, probably apart from Palace and Brighton, which looking at the moment, Brighton are probably looking at a better option than Palace.
They have that Sky Game Week 30 they miss as well, though, which
yes, they do. Yeah,
putting most people off.
I think
already have people after that.
I think for me, it's just too far away. I mean, in between, there are teams like Arsenal, Everton, Liverpool play 6 times before then. I just think it's far. Anything could happen in that period. Yeah. So but all the others definitely. I think I'm not sure which Wolves player, but I probably will go for a Wolves player over a Fulham one on that Friday the 24th of February. I need to give a bit more thought. I mean, Neves, potentially Dawson, potentially Kilman. I probably won't go for Salah because I got Ramsdale, but they're the ones I'm currently loosely looking at, and I'm definitely looking at Raya and Tony for that little Brentford run between Monday the 6th of March and Wednesday the 15th of March, where they have 3 for 1 over lots of teams. Ian Parrin, how well does your incoming Sky FF Liverpool asset have to perform tomorrow for you to keep them in your team medium term? Yeah, this is kind of what we've been talking about. So regardless, Paul, regardless whether he scores a hat-trick or whether he does nothing, you're moving on anyway, right?
I think so. I mean, if Liverpool turned up tonight and it was Liverpool of old and they were pressing all over the park and they're keeping good control of the ball and Salah went and scored 2 or went and scored 3, then maybe I'll reevaluate. But even if he scores and picks up tier 2 shots, what's that, 11 points? Is that enough to tell me that Liverpool's back and that they're going to start steamrolling teams again and that Salah's back in form? I don't know, and I think the fact that it allows me to get to the 2 Arsenal players that I want to get to on Wednesday, rather than a player that I'd be shoehorning in to satisfy. Maybe different if I was in your position and I could get. I already own Zinchenko, so maybe different if I was in your position. But then if he blanks tonight, then it's probably I don't know. What's your I think everyone's very clear on my thoughts on it, and I've been very adamant that this has been my plan, and I'm still sticking to that over the last kind of week or so. What's your thoughts on that question?
So I'd look at the game days and I'd look at the fixtures, and the fact that Liverpool and Arsenal are both away on Saturday. Liverpool are away to Newcastle, which is not a handsome fixture in the slightest. So that immediate, I don't expect anything from him on that day. So immediately I'd be looking on, right, what's next? Then they're away again to Palace on Saturday the 25th. Now in that time, Arsenal are away. Obviously have the additional home game against Man City. They've got an away game against Villa on Saturday, who we saw looked a bit all over the shop defensively, and then they play the same day. Then they've got they're away to Leicester the same day that Liverpool are away to Palace. Arsenal then home to Everton on the same day that Liverpool are home to Wolves. Wolves just beat them 3-0, and then Arsenal play again at home to Bournemouth before Liverpool play again. So I would look at that patch of fixtures and think, would I, actually rather have Saka again? Would I rather have Salah and someone like Zinchenko, who at any point with Zinchenko, I feel he could get a rest or have his minutes reduced, or go for Saka and Gabriel, who are both 90-minute men. The only thing I've got with Arsenal at the moment, and it's coming at a real inopportune time, they just seem to have gone off the boil, which is really, really frustrating. But I think with all those things in mind, I would probably move on to Arsenal, even if Salah did score a couple of goals.
Rob Holding's not coming in though, so
yeah, that's right. Exactly that. So I would say, Paul, even if he scores a couple of goals this evening, I still think I'd move him on, because they're definitely not going to captain him for a while. And even on that Liverpool home to Wolves single game day, Wolves just done him 3-0. Wolves are playing well, and Arsenal are home to Everton. So captain an Arsenal player, you're not losing anything in there. So Andrew Lee, I'm sure the guys will ask you this. Haaland, how long would he need to be out for you to consider transferring him out? I think the fact that we don't see the lineup on Saturday is interesting. I think if you saw the lineup on Saturday and he still wasn't playing, then there is an argument to maybe move him on for a game or two. But it's 2 transfers. You can't afford, like, he's perma cap for everyone in the game, right? So on the game day he plays, he's perma cap. So I would just say leave him in, to be honest. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, if he was ruled out for a couple of weeks, I would move him on to Saka, and then
move him back.
Salah, and move Salah on to Haaland. So I would move him on. I would move him on if he was out for a couple of weeks, even if I knew he wasn't going to play. Potentially, if I knew he wasn't going to play midweek and wasn't going to play against. But that I would have to have known that by now, because I'd be making the Salah move now.
Would you miss one of his games if it meant, like, a 3-for-1 the other way?
It would all depend on my daisy chain moves. So if it cost me one more transfer to do this, to get him back, taking him out for somebody that I was going to take out anyway, then possibly. But if it's like one of these situations where the person you're taking out, bringing in for Haaland, is then the person that you're taking back out, for me, it just doesn't add up.
Okay. I was just about to ask, who's your captain for Sunday the 5th of March? Liverpool and United, and Forest and Everton. But I'm assuming it'd be Rashford at that point. Anyway, sorry, just off on piece there. GG Magpie, thoughts on triple up for Arsenal defence? Yeah, absolutely. I think I've got Ramsdale and Saliba, and I'm definitely thinking of bringing in another one on Wednesday. If like, I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet on Wednesday, but there is the off chance, and obviously they got the volume of fixtures. Yourself, Paul?
Yeah, similar, I think.
For reasons unknown, as Pope misses game week 30, consider goalkeeper change. Best goalkeeper from the 25th of February onwards.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure on this question. Like, I did read it before it came online, but I wasn't too sure why it had to be from the 25th of February, because even if you were holding Pope to play against Liverpool,
you'd move him off the week earlier.
From Sunday the 19th.
I'd probably say just Ederson or Ramsdale for the next few weeks, and then maybe look on Monday the 6th of March, maybe look to Raya.
You get one extra game from Ramsdale if you do Ramsdale midweek. Or if you were going to go Salah, you could go Alisson or Pickford.
Yeah, good shout. On Pickford, you would get 5 games before you, including the captaincy, before you had to move him on. If you were going for Raya on that Brentford game. Michael Haaland says, brought in Mahrez yesterday and had Rodri. If Haaland doesn't play on Wednesday, thoughts on captain and Mahrez? It's hard to agree with that. If Haaland doesn't play, absolutely good move.
I think we said we asked that earlier on, didn't we? If I owned Mahrez and Haaland wasn't playing, I'd captain Mahrez, and I think that Rodri genuinely would be my captain if Haaland doesn't play. I probably wouldn't bring in Mahrez, and I'd probably captain Rodri.
Shadibi asks, guys, what would your team be if there was an overhaul right now? That's an interesting one. What do you think, Paul? Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Edison.
You're going to name my team, so you're not too careful.
Edison.
Salah, so you save yourself a transfer right away.
Rodri.
Rashford.
I'm sure I'm Rashford because you could bring him in, couldn't you?
Rodri, I think I still would. Rodri, Rashford,
Saka,
Salah, Haaland, Kane. That leaves one space for someone else somewhere.
Yeah.
Badiashile, maybe.
Maybe Ake or Kanji, maybe Odegaard, maybe Martinelli, maybe Nketiah.
Probably wouldn't be Martinelli. Not that I don't think he won't start on Wednesday, because I think he will. But yeah.
Leaving space for Tony. Make sure you can afford and move on to Ivan Toney, because he's gonna be very popular, I think, in soon.
Yeah, or if you didn't take up a forward spot there, you could move Salah onto anybody as well if you're
good shout. Dark Invader SkyFF, which are the best 2 differential captains you've picked on Sky over the last few years, and roughly what did they return? Wow, I do remember having Felipe Anderson on a Thursday night a couple of years ago for West Ham, and he scored 2 goals. Oh, I did. I went from about 150th to about 60th that day.
I remember that. I remember that game well.
And I've just thought of another one, and it was actually on a night. So I was at Man City when Man City played West Ham, and I couldn't afford Salah, so I went for Van Dijk because Liverpool were playing the same night, and Van Dijk inexplicably got 2 goals on a Wednesday night a couple of seasons ago, and that was just absolute pure luck. What you Paul?
I'm not particularly great at getting these hauls. I don't think. Do you know what I was really happy with? The Thiago Silva one, like last week against Fulham, because I play the way that I play. I'm always picking the captain I think is going to be the most captained when they are the standout choice. But see, when you've got these game days where it's all 20%, this is where I need to get lucky. I think in these situations, lucky with planning. So I really like the Thiago Silva one. I think it was underrated, like 10 points, doubled up to 20 when most people were on Paulinho and others other week. So I was really happy with that. The Paulinho one and again, he only got a 10-pointer, I think, but the Paulinho one where everyone ripped up their teams to get Mitrovic in, and even if you already had Paulinho and you doubled the Mitrovic 1-pointer to get 2 points, and I'm sitting not making a transfer and doubling up. So it's these situations that have done me well. I think that it's not the last couple of seasons, but there was a Monday night when Sunderland were playing Everton a few seasons back. A fair few seasons back, because Lukaku was still at Everton and scored a hat-trick on a Monday night. And I had him captain then. Was a really good one. But yeah, there's not too many times where I pick up a differential captain that gets a hat-trick or something like that, because it tends to be that everyone's on those players when I'm doing it, and I try and make my gains outside of that. But those are a few examples. And there's one last season where Rafinha done a couple of times last season where Leeds had single game days and Rafinha done well. I think one was against Norwich on a Sunday.
Yeah, the Sunday one I remember. Yeah,
one was like a goal and assist and shots bonus, and then they played against someone on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday night last season, where again he scored. Did he not score like a really late on penalty? And that gave him shots bonus.
He did, and I didn't have him for that one. That absolutely killed me. Yeah.
So yeah, in recent times, I'd say the Rafinha one, and then that Paulinho and Thiago Silva ones, whilst aren't. James Maddison on the Monday night this season. There you go. Double. Scored the double, 18-pointer, double to 36. That's probably the best one.
And
he was about 40% owned him, but
it's still massive though, isn't it? I remember Stuart Dallas a couple of seasons ago, everyone had fallen off him, and I think it was like the day before overhaul. Yeah, it was like the day before the overhaul, and there was only a few people left on him, and I think he got like a goal and assist and clean sheet and bonus and everything. He just absolutely cleaned up, didn't he? He was like a 40-odd pointer. It was unbelievable. And the one that got away from me, I remember, this will haunt me forever. I've mentioned it a few times, but Antonio versus Norwich. I think I had about 3 transfers left with like 4 weeks left. Oh, I can't do it. I'd love to do it, but I can't. And when he scored the 4 goals, that really hurt. That did, because that's a season changer right there, isn't it? But anyway, there we go.
The one that haunts me is Jose Holebas on a Sunday against Middlesbrough for Watford, and everybody had him because he was the budget enabler of choice, and he scored clean sheet, monster haul.
A couple more questions. Dark Invader again. Saka or Mahrez out of the 2? I think I would go for Saka just for security of starts and more. I think they got more games, haven't they, or at least as many.
One extra game until the hop off point if people are too big to move them off. That'd be my preference too.
And that's it. All the rest are around of kind of Salah and stuff. Which just in summary, we get the lineups in about 35 minutes, but if Salah is starting, both of us will be going against every footballing instinct, but going, jumping into Sky FF instincts, which is just cover the game, zero risk. Well, it is. It's zero risk in it, but there is potential upside. All it needs is like a dodgy penalty, some stupid handball penalty or something. Salah steps up, even like a 7, 8, 9 pointer would do, wouldn't it? Anything really. So that would be beautiful, and even that would see a rise in rank before a likely shift on, I think, on Wednesday. But we'll see. We see the return this week of the Four Nations League. We're getting to the point of the season now where the league is starting to take shape, and it has some meaning. The Scottish flag is flying, unsurprisingly, for the first time in a while. But Paul McAnulty, actually, I'll go from the bottom of the teams that are still live, because my team on the bottom is obviously not live. Ian Parrin's groupthink team, which I think he provides commentary on Twitter, is in 9th place. Dan Cox's second team is in 8th. Liam's 2 teams then are on 1847, 1879 in 7th and 6th. Dan Cox's first team is on 1921. Ian Parrin's is in 4th on 1942. I am 3rd, 1960. Paul, your second team, which is still doing very well, is in 1976, and your first team, which is 22nd overall, will hit the 2,000 point mark this evening, barring either a red card or a penalty miss. You heard it here first from Mo Salah this evening. But yeah, very, very well played, Paul. I think it's going to take some effort for us to catch you, even though. I think it's probably fair to say I don't think that Liam would argue. He's 120 points behind you now. It'd take some effort for him to catch you. Dan is about 77 behind. That's attainable. Ian is 60 odd behind, and we all know that Ian usually has a lot more chances left, than the majority of us. I'm 38 behind you. I think I've maybe got 1 or 2 on transfers, but not that many. So yeah, all to play for, all very interesting, and hopefully we can all have respectable finishes. Stephen Murray Bruce says Bruno's 42 pointer last season. That was a bit of a beast as well, wasn't it? Was that on the opening day of the season or something like that? That was it. You got a hat trick on the opening day. Unbelievable. That is it for us for this evening. As usual, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Your continued support is much, much appreciated. Thank you so much. Paul, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Paul McAnulty, 1MCANULTY.
My handle on Twitter is at FFH_Fergi. Make sure you drop us both a follow. We have just recorded the Nip and a Half podcast just before this as well. It's just about a 15-minute, very light-hearted look at our seasons. Spoiler alert, Paul has slightly extended his lead, but some good chat there around, Dream Team, FPL, Sky, and Telegraph. Only a short, informal look. In case you haven't heard about that, the loser pays for the winner to fly to their country. Not just the country, obviously, we'll make it a bit more local. And take them out for dinner and drinks and all that jazz. So there's a lot at stake.
And most importantly, table tennis.
We didn't have a game, did we, when I was up a few weeks ago? What happened there, Paul? You kept that quiet. Where was the come on?
The place that I know that has table tennis is like Love Island editions. So
we'd fit right then, would we?
Oh well, I think we'd both be like 20 years each too old to be in there. So.
Brilliant. If you like what you watched, please press the like button. Remember to subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast. Leave us 5 stars. Leave us a nice comment. And we'll be back next week looking ahead to Sky Game Week 30. Have a great Game Week 29 and goodbye for now.